Again, welcome to Momentum Magic, unlocking 5+ hours in your week today. I'm really excited to be able to share with you these fabulous tools to begin to bring greater clarity and confidence in your week. And so there'll be an opportunity for you to put some comments in the chat. And if there's anything I bring up that seems like particularly relevant for you, I want you to be able to send me hearts and thumbs up, so I just know that you're on the same page with me. So I just want to acknowledge you for being here. Over the next 20 minutes, we're going to be sharing with you tools to invite you back to yourself so you can begin to trade overwhelm for a deeper level of focus and that ability to clear through any confusion so you can have a greater sense of confidence. I love being able to give women the tools to say no to what doesn't work for them and what doesn't serve them and their families and their community, and to begin to calm their nervous system so you can think clearly and move forward with confidence. So in 20 minutes a day, starting today, and for the next 5 days, we're going to be sharing shortcuts to number one today is unlocking 5+ hours in your week so you can live with greater joy and freedom. Tomorrow, day two, we're going to be tapping into your body's wisdom to elevate your energy and your clarity. And day three is mastering your mindset to magnetically attract your good. And that's about tapping, seriously. And then day four, welcome, taming the inner saboteurs that steal your joy. And then day five, stopping the burnout and leaning into powerful supports. And there's a number of ways I've been actually presenting that to a number of groups, and I've had phenomenal results from people saying, come back and talk to us about that. So ask yourself, just to pause, what would you do with an extra 5+ hours in your week? And I'm going to ask you to put that in the chat just so we can have a little bit of interaction here. I know that for me, last week was particularly busy. I had a networking, um, what's called a women's group that I was hosting. We had 20+ women, and then I was facilitating something this past week and on Saturday. And I began to realize I needed an extra 5+ hours in my week, and I couldn't, I wasn't going to ditch the sleep. So what would you do with an additional 5+ hours? I chose that I just wasn't going to work those 5 hours, that I was actually going to take a break for a little bit. So would love to hear what you have to say, put it in the chat. And so I just want to ask, this is really important for you to begin to ask yourself, where am I just going through the motions? And where can I begin to pour my time and my energy into what really lights me up? So maybe there's been a project that you've been wanting to do. Maybe I talked to a number of women across the United States, and some people say, I want to write a book. Or, okay, I'm reading here. I would take the moment for myself without guilt. I would get caught up on the things that I'm behind on. Right. So many women have told me, oh, I would love to be able to take a walk. I'd love to be able to exercise more. I'd like to be able to connect with my beloveds. So whatever that is for you, this is an important process. And you've actually taken the time to pause long enough to ask yourself these questions. Because I have not found a woman yet who couldn't use a little bit more time. This was especially emphasized for me recently as my mom was transitioning at the end of March. You know, none of us really know how much time we have on this planet. And up until recently, I was helping busy business owners with profit acceleration. And I began to realize that as I was going through the change with my mom, that I was changing. And really, I realized that I'm recreating myself yet again as I ask myself, what brings me greater joy and impact? What impact is possible? So for those of you who are on this call and have known me for a number of years, you know that I was leading, I was doing human resources. I rose to the ranks of VP, and I've done coaching and counseling for thousands of women across the United States, actually around the world too. And still, my most treasured accomplishment has been raising my children. And so I realized, once my mom was going through that transitionary phase, that I really wanted to help women to co-create a planet where we treat ourselves, each other, and our planet with loving kindness. So if you're with me on that, just send a heart, send a thumbs up, so that I can know that you have the same values, that the direction that I'm taking my life as well. So within this in mind, thank you, my dears. I'm offering this free series to really begin to bring thank you, so that you'll have greater momentum in your days to unlock time and energy and abundance. And really, it's based on neuroscience. It's somatic psychotherapy, just means honoring our body's wisdom, energetics, business, and leadership principles. All of these have come together to begin to help you gain greater clarity and confidence and take inspired action on what really matters. And here's the secret. It's really about befriending you. Because I have spent a lifetime, and maybe you have too, doing it the masculine way, pushing, pushing, pushing. And I found in my wisdom years that doing until I drop is not sustainable. So instead, I've been asking 3 important questions, and you might actually want to write this down. Does it give me joy? Is it true? And how can I do this with ease and love? And I'm actually going to put this in the chat. So fasten your seatbelts. It's time for you to jump into unlocking 5+ hours in your week to bring you greater energy and freedom in your life and business. So let's first acknowledge the cost of rushing around from one thing to another. When I can remember when I was back in corporate and I was basically letting people pull me in all different directions. There was a moment when I realized it was pure exhaustion and I couldn't continue to do what I was doing. And let's face it, I was 34. I was young. I was vibrant. I was a lot younger than what I was now. And so it basically, this rushing around without prioritizing yourself leads to overwhelm, exhaustion. And in my case, it was adrenal fatigue. So actually having to take off a number of months so that I can actually recharge my batteries. So it can harm your sense of well-being, right? And put even stress on your relationships because you're maybe a little short or you haven't had the opportunity to really connect deeply with those that you love. So, and it can be really difficult to find perspective as well when you're running on adrenaline and fear and from cortisol from one thing to the next. So I'm going to share with you a couple slides that will provide some bearings for where we're up to. We all have the same number of hours in the week. Can you see my screen? Yes. We all have the same 168 hours in the week. And really the question is, how do you want to spend yours? I began to realize that unless I put the big rocks in, that I wouldn't be able to actually have time for myself. So the concept here is we put the big pieces of what we're doing in our life first, and then we can put in the pebbles, and then we can put in the sand, and then we can put in the water. But first we have to have those things that really, I'll call it, support us to being our most vibrant self. And so this is mine. And so this may be similar to yours. So I began to realize that if I just work, 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 and make that the focus of my day and my weeks, that it wasn't a very powerful equation. So I had to do a backup, and I said, okay, so in order for me to work, I need to be able to sleep. And in order to sleep, I have to be working out. So I reverse engineered my life and said, okay, if I work out every day, pretty much, whether I go walking or yoga, you do you, however you do that. So working out 10 hours a week allows me to have about 60 hours of sleep a week, and which allows me to be more generative in my work. And then I said, what were those other things that take quite a bit of time. Meal prep is one of them. So for example, if I'm having a particularly busy week, I might say, I'm going to go just ask my honey to actually prepare the meals, or I may go out to eat, right? Have it delivered, DoorDash, because I need to find that extra 15 hours in a week. Or I may say, I'm going to cut down a little bit on my social. I certainly do not cut out my self-care, because that's important for me to actually, I think, to find the sleep and the work. So because, or else my mind just keeps working too much. And then I set aside at least 5 hours for training and study. It's generally more than that, but I put that in my calendar. So when you begin to look at this, then you can begin to say, and where is an elegant move? So the first thing is to ask yourself, what would I envision? What would be my optimum health and wellness? What would I love to be doing in the area of these 4 areas? We won't have time to do this today, but you may want to take this as your homework. How would I love to be spending my time in health and wellness, my relationships, my career, and my free time? And what I began to find out, and this was a few years ago when I was taking a large group of women to Bali for a spiritual retreat, I began to realize that if I could blend all of these things together, that was an elegant move. In other words, I could take a group, that's my work. I could do self-care while I was there, do the massages. I could do some training or some study while I was there. I could work out because we did some fabulous hikes. I could get some rest. I could have people actually do the meal prep for me. And I had a huge amount of social. So it actually hit all of my big rocks, right? So that you can have an overlap. Yes, you can have an overlap. And I often call these a twofer. Like I have a girlfriend that professional colleague who we provide accountability for each other, and we walk. So that's a twofer, right? Actually, it's a threefer because it's work, social, and working out. So where can you begin to combine these tasks so that you can create an elegant move, would be my thought. And then the second part of this is you get to decide. Often we can feel like we're a flag in the wind, that everyone else's priorities are of utmost priority. But really, who gets to choose? You get to choose. So I'm going to ask you for just a moment to close your eyes or have to soft focus. And I'd like for you to come up with a percentage. I've been asking people across the United States this. So close your eyes, come up with a percentage. And the question is, how much of your time do you waste? And I'm going to ask you that you put that in the chat. And the question that comes up is, they said, well, what do you mean waste? And I said, well, it's really your definition. Some people said, well, do you mean the time that I spend with my family? And I said, do you consider that that's waste? Oh, and somebody has commented in the chat, my body wouldn't know what to do with 60 hours of sleep. That would be such a luxury. And so, right, so we have to realize, okay, so is it affecting our ability then to do the work or our relationships or all that, right? So if you can put in there, how much of your time do you waste? And I have to say, this is like a really telling story. I've talked to people and they have said up to 60%. So good for you. I see 5% in there. And I can't read yours up there, but I'm seeing, it's not unusual for me to hear 30 to 60% of the time is wasted. And so you get to decide, okay, how am I going to let that go? I'm not sure. I don't know what would classify as wasted exactly. I love how you're being real about that. You don't know. And so we don't know until we actually take the time to consciously look at our life. I have given, and then somebody else says, I've given purpose even to my downtime or TV time. Yeah, I get that. I'm pretty intentional too in my time. I just think this is so interesting that my cat wants to be part of our participation today. Okay, so I'm going to share with you. You get to decide. So thank you for being real about that. You get to decide the first level of this. Is it a heck yes, and you can feel that in your body? Or it is a heck no. Like, I don't want to be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. And it's okay to say no. This is what I teach my clients is you can say no, thank you. But the fact is you get to decide no. That is really the key to opening up time for you. And then if you do decide to do it and you decide, rather than feeling at the whim of some power outside of you, then you could choose to delegate it. That what that looks like is getting a house cleaner. Last week I had an event. I hired a French chef to help me out, which was delightful. Or you can defer it. Not everything needs to be done today. Or you can redesign it. You can say, if I don't have time to meditate in the morning, I realize that I don't have a very good day. I don't feel centered. I don't feel grounded. And so I redesigned my day to realize that I needed to have my meditation and my, let's call it my journaling time, my intention setting for the first hour of the day. Also, if you do decide to do it, make it a habit. If those of you who have read Atomic Habits, that's a fabulous book that helps you to realize it, when we make it a habit and it's a non-negotiable, then it makes it so much easier to put it in our day and prioritize it. How do we prioritize it? We put it in our calendar, right? And put it in bite-sized pieces, because often it can feel too overwhelming. So, and then commit and schedule it. So that means committing to you, committing to another person, often having an accountability partner is really a powerful way to, I'll call it, reinstitute new habits. So in summary, setting your compass for success is really about making yourself a priority, saying yes to you. And I often remind my women that I'm working with that when you say yes to yourself, it has a trickle down effect. It has that ability for you to set clear boundaries, to charge what you're worth. It's like it's giving a message to your subconscious mind that I matter. So making yourself a priority, learning to say no, and assessing really how you're using your time, right? If we, the thing, even before we go to there, learning to say no, it's Warren Buffett who said that really the most successful people say no to almost everything. And I'm the same way, because I'm like, you have to have a good reason to get on my calendar. I'm not going to just have somebody get on my calendar, and it needs to be very intentional. So really, your challenge for the next few days is to assess how are you using your time, and begin to ask yourself, where can I cut out the distractions? That might be social media, it might be TV, it might be email. I only check my email. Well, I commit to checking it 2 times a day. The other thing is I have to share with you when I went through my master's program, I actually cut out alcohol and and TV. So what are you willing to cut out to allow your dreams to come forward? So you limit the distractions, you calendar what's most important, and most important is you make time for yourself. You create habits that support you in being your best self, whether it's sleep, exercise, whatever that is, meditate, or just basically contemplation. So this has been a quick drive in this past 20 minutes. I just really want to remind you to lean into support. You don't have to be doing alone. And ask yourself, what's possible if you were to carve out an additional 5+ hours in your week for you, for your loved ones, for what's really important. And I'm just going to invite you to put nurture in the chat. Take it off of here. If you'd like for me to be sharing with you additional supports to continue to help you, because this is a quick drive. I can only show you so much in 20 minutes. And I'm gathering women for a Nurturing Radiance group where we're going to be soon we'll be providing regular supports, accountability, tools, ideas, resources to continue this momentum, to continue to unlock time, energy, and abundance so you can be your radiant self. So if you can put in the chat what you got out of our time together today, that's really helpful for me. And I'm going to invite you to come join us tomorrow at the same time from 10 to 10:20 Pacific time so that you can begin to continue to unlock time and energy and have, I call it, the greater sense of freedom and abundance in your life that you deserve.